Well, good Tuesday after morning, everybody. Happy to see you here on our swing trading class. I'm happy to be here as well. I'm Connie Hill, senior manager and education coach. You know, we're in a really busy week of earnings. You guys know it. In a lot of our classes, we're talking about some different earnings trades, but I know there are a big group of you that don't really like to do that. You've kind of maybe been burned before. So today we're going to focus on some swing trades that are not earnings involved. Although I've got one earnings trade that if we have time, I'll save it for last and we'll take a look at it. I am joined in the chat by, I forgot to look who is in the chat here. Rachel. Rachel's in the chat for me. Thank you, Rachel. You know, as you have questions, go ahead, chat them in. I'll be watching our chat window, but Rachel will be there as well to maybe catch any questions I can't quite get to, or that are a lot easier for her to answer than for me to answer. Okay, so let us know what your questions are. And those of you that have questions and listening on the archive, go ahead and chat your question in the comments section of YouTube, because I go back and review those throughout the day so that you can get your questions answered quickly as well. Now, I hope you're following us on X. I'm Connie Hill CS. Rachel is Rachel CS. And we'll post educational content. A lot of mine and Rachel's are stock-oriented and chart-oriented. So things that we might notice that we think you might enjoy, we'll go ahead and post about. All right, let's go through our disclosures and get down to business, because I have a pretty full agenda for us here today. What we talked about is intended for education and information only. Don't consider it a recommendation. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. Short options can be assigned at any time up to expiration, regardless of the in-the-money amount, and an in-the-money option has a higher risk of being assigned early. We will be using the Paper Money platform for our example trades and our chart use here today. Keep in mind, Paper Money is for educational purposes. I think it's a fantastic way to practice strategies or new rules that you're wanting to test out. Paper Money will not assign early. And so that's one difference from the regular market, the real market, and Paper Money, because the real market will assign early and can assign early. And yes, it's probably happened to some of you before. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Probably won't look at any futures here, but if we did, they'd be for reference only, not for trading purposes. All right. Typically, we're going to take a look at what the market is doing, see what's happening today. We've got another bullish day in the market. We'll talk a little bit about swing trading concepts, what that really means, and then we're going to go back and look at some example trades in the past and kind of walk through the management of those trades, as well as some new opportunities today. And what I said at the beginning, most of those will not be associated with earnings, because I know there's lots of you that just really don't like that. In fact, I'll have you answer me in the chat maybe. Do you like to trade earnings? Yes or no? I'm just curious about for our group here today. You can just chat in yes or no if you like to trade earnings over earnings or not. Let's take a look here. The idea with swing trading, and maybe I'll just grab my little drawing tool here. Sometimes he works, sometimes he doesn't. I think he's working today. The idea with the swing trade is that maybe we identify a fresh new bounce or maybe a fresh breakout, and we're looking to trade the meat of a move. Okay, so we're not expecting to totally get the bottom. We're not expecting to necessarily get it all the way at the top of the move. But if we can just grab the chunk of it, right? If we can trade most of it, then we're happy. And we can set up parameters to get out of a trade if we hit certain targets. And so the idea here is maybe be in the trade 2 days, maybe 5 days, maybe up to 10 days. Usually it's not much longer than 10 days. But the idea is we're not looking at it for being in there for very long. And therefore, the fundamentals will probably take a back seat to any technicals that we might see. Now, in your answering my question, if you like to trade over earnings, I just want to look here real quick. It looks like we have a wide variety of answers, lots of no's. There's some sometimes and some yeses with caveats. We've got a no way or a usually no, but sometimes you might do collars to protect your stocks over earnings report. Scott, that's great to see. Kevin doesn't mind either way, and sometimes it does depend on the stock, doesn't it, Snoopy? Okay, some of you do, but you're not confident about it yet, and that's okay. Wayne has identified a strategy he likes to use over earnings. Wayne said the iron condors over earnings is perhaps vehicle he likes to use. All right. Let's head over to my paper money account here. And we're just starting out here on the SPX. Maybe actually, let me expand this a little bit because I do want my scratch pad to be up here. I've got up here the SPX. Yes, we're in another bullish movement of the market. I'm going to point out something that Rachel actually tweeted about, and I really liked what she said in her tweet. And basically, she pointed out these gaps, these breakaway gaps, and breakaway gaps are really quite bullish. Okay, so we have breakaway gap here, next day breakaway gap, next day, although not quite as far, another breakaway gap. And so it's just indicative that, man, the market's from the get-go in the morning is trading higher than where it closed the previous night. And so we get that little bit of space in between our candles, and that's why. All right, so just indicative of a bullish market, which market set new highs again today, so not a big surprise. Let's take a look at a stock here. We're going to go with SMCI, Super Micro Computer. Now, this is a stock. It has earnings, but it's out a little bit. We'll aim to be done with this trade before the earnings comes along. That is going to be on the 4th, which I believe is a week from today after the market closes. Okay, so a swing trade, not planning on being there a long period of time, so we'll try to get out before earnings comes along. Can you set that dynamically in your order conditions? You can. Okay, now we can see I've got a 10-period moving average here that's exponential. That's the light powder blue line. And then we've got a red moving average, what I've got set to a 30-day moving average. So kind of on the shorter end of an intermediate moving average. And what have we got going on right here? Well, interesting. It looks like the stock came up here, made a decent high, pulled back again, but I wouldn't say that necessarily it went lower than the previous major high. And what do I mean by this? Or previous low, I should say. So I would see the previous low that was major about here. And as this kind of pulled back, I'd say where it bounced here. And so I'd say, yeah, for the big major peaks, I'm seeing a higher low. Now, sometimes people might be micromanaging the candles really tight, maybe really short time frames. And so maybe you look at it a little different. You look at maybe that one low candle here and count that. And then maybe this run up after it, you count it as a lower high. Okay, so it just kind of depends on what time frame you're really working with. Now, here, what we're seeing on this particular stock is really a bounce off of these moving averages and pretty close to where this old resistance was, around $50.52. And it looks like it's just kind of bouncing up here. Now, one of the things we love to do with swing trades is put on a target so that we can identify, hey, if we get X move, that maybe represents a big chunk of the move. Okay. Today, and on this trade, we're going to do two separate targets. Okay, where we're going to say target one maybe is the first place that it might get to that we might want to start scaling out of the trade, maybe taking some profits away from it. And so our first target that we're going to use here, let me get my mouse back. would be kind of in this high area here of this candle that I was saying, maybe that quick pop up for somebody micromanaging the candles. So maybe the top of this candle in this area, the high here is 56.50, 56.60, I should say. And so we're going to put our very first target right there. All right, so let me write that down in here. We've got 56.60. And then where might you consider another target? If the stock, say, gets here quickly in the next couple days, maybe the next stopping ground is going to be up here near 58 and some change. In fact, I was going to put this one down at, let me back up here a little bit, actually. Yeah, we're going to put this second target here. I guess I backed up enough. Oh, darn, I don't want to do that. Let's try this again. All right, this is going to be our second target up here. I'll just leave the chart alone, okay? And that is going to be about 58.60 is what we had in mind. So 56.60, let it go a couple bucks more to 58.60. And if somebody maybe did want to hold over earnings, they were looking for something maybe a little bit even beyond that, then maybe you come back here to the previous high in July, which was up here around the 62 area, okay? But for one little move to get quite that high in a short period of days, like 5 before they have an earnings announcement, I think would be a pretty tall task, okay? So that's why we're using a little bit shorter term. Now, if you didn't want to stop at the first target, you wouldn't have to, okay? I just want to show you how you could do something like that. All right. We are going to do 100 shares here. Where would we want a stop loss? Let's talk about that. With a swing trade, there's different methodologies that you can use to identify it where you might want to stop. If you wanted to put a stop below some support, we certainly could, which we could use this 50-52 area and maybe go a little bit below there. Or sometimes on a swing trade, what some traders will do is they'll just look at the current day's price action. And if it's early in the day, maybe you're looking at the previous day's candle. We're a little bit later in the afternoon here today, so we'll go with today's current low. Okay, the current low right now is, or on today's candle, is 51.37. So we're going to go just a little bit below that. We're going to go 51.27. Okay. So that is going to be our stop. Oops, let's do that. Equals our stop. Okay. Now, if you wanted to do and calculate yours differently, absolutely do, right? These are not hard and fast rules. These are just ideas of how we might approach a particular swing trade here. Okay. Next up, let's go ahead and put this order on. Now, we're going to do 100 shares. But we want to put in those two targets. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in a buy custom with an OCO. Yeah, do I want an OCO bracket? Let me think here. I don't. I'm going to want a first triggers to OCO. So we're going to change that. We're going to be adding to this order here. Okay, we'll get in whatever the price is right here. But let's configure the first 50 shares because we're going to take half of it off the table if it hits that first target. So at this point, we're going to do 50 shares here. Oops, not 150, 50 shares here. And then we're going to put in the first target, which we said would be 56.60. So that's about $4.30 away, which on a $52 stock isn't a bad little run there, maybe about 8% ballparkish. And let me get my thing on the right one here. And we're going to go 56.60 for the target. It will be a limit. We'll make it good till canceled. And then on this one, it is going to be a stop. And we're going to use that 51.27. So we're just going to change the cents here. 51.27. And so that's going to help us for target number one. Well, let's do target number 2 as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically duplicate these orders. I'm going to say right mouse click, create duplicate order for the target, and I'm also going to say create duplicate order for the stop. Okay, that'll just kind of save us a little bit of time. So the second group, these are going to be for the second 50 shares. If it hits the first target, then we're going to say, all right, let's do this. So here, our next target I said would be 58.60. Kind of reversing some of those numbers, right? 58.60, good till canceled. And then here, we're just going to be using that same stop price, right? Oh, I put the stop, I didn't change it. Do you know what happened? I'm going to fix this here. I duplicated the wrong one, and what I really wanted to do was duplicate our stop here, the 51.27. So let me create our duplicate order here. So here's our stop at the same price, 51.27, and it just basically looks identical to this. Okay, so what would happen if the stock dropped to 51.27? Okay, you would trigger a market order on both of these trades, the 50 shares up here and the 50 shares down here. Okay, so it would trigger it on whole 100 shares and would get filled to whatever the next market price is. We don't always know what that price is going to be. The expectation is that once that market order is triggered, it gets filled at the next available price, right? But there's not a guarantee of as far as what that price is going to be. All right, now I want to check for questions before I hit my confirm and send here. Just make sure that I'm catching everything. Let's see, I think you guys might be, Chris might be talking about another stock that's up 1% here today. Okay. Oh, I'm going to hit the send button, and then we've got a survey out in our chat, I see. Okay, let me go ahead and hit confirm and send. I'm going to put this in our swing trades bucket. We're going to be paying attention to that, and we're going to send it on its way. Good, we got filled on our 100 shares. All right, you guys know that from time to time, and maybe if you're new, you don't know, but we'll put a survey out there. I don't control it. Rachel doesn't control it. Other people behind the scenes, our producers and support staff, they are the ones that are tracking them, right? And they keep track of when it's time for us to have a survey in this class. So what I'll encourage you to do, we're not near closing time yet, but go ahead and click on the link so that it's active and you've just got it kind of sitting in the background. And then when it's time for you to go, or we close up the class, then go ahead and fill that out for me if you would. We really appreciate it when you take the time to do it. It's 2 questions, 2 really simple, easy questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? Pop, pop. You just pluck the number with your pointer, with your mouse, right? Click, click, and you could be done. Now, there's 2 questions that if you would like to answer, you can. Feel free to do so. I also encourage you to use it as space to communicate something with either me or whoever the instructor is. Now, my expectation is that Mike's going to be back next week. So if there's something you would want me to pass on to Mike, then I'll do so. But if you have particular things that you might want covered that maybe I can do in a future class, go ahead, send that information to me using those kind of this space you have to write in that survey. All right. Debbie says, is there a reason why you wouldn't put a stop on all 100 shares if it hits 51.27? And actually, we are. Okay. And let me maybe grab my marker here, kind of point it out, because we were putting on 2 targets and they are OCO orders, they both have to have one outcome, an outcome for a target and an outcome for a stop. And that's why we broke it into 50 shares and 50 shares. Okay, so here at the top on this one, here's the first stop at 51.27, and then the target at 58.60. That was the last order we put in. And then here's the first 50 shares at 51.27 as a stop, and then looking to get out at a 56.60 as a target. Okay, so it's just the way the first triggers OCO works. You can find other ways that you might want to submit the trade. This is one of the ways I found to be the easiest. But we are getting out on all 100 shares at that 51.27 price. Does that make sense to you? If not, tell me. I'll try again. Let's see. All right. Let's move on. Want another trade? I think we should. We're going to put as many in here as we can today. Next stock up is and you can see on our chart, we can see where our stops are right next to each other, and then where those two targets are. If you don't see these in your paper trading along, come over here to the gear, and then the tab that it comes to first is general, and then you can put let's see, that would actually show the trade once it goes in. If you click on show trades, I think it actually might just be a default. I could be wrong. Yeah, I could be wrong, but in any case, we're seeing it on the chart. Okay, next stock up, not stop. Next stock up is something you guys have all heard of before. Maybe some of you drive this particular car, Tesla. All right, Tesla, they had their earnings, right? They had their earnings last week. It looks like the day after they announced, it gapped down and then quickly ran back up. So really, from where it was the day before, it actually closed positive. And interesting, this 452-ish area seems to be an area of resistance. It's like the stock broke above it one time, and then it gapped clear up here and then closed below it. All right, just trying to get it above it here again, above it here again. It's having a little bit of a hard time getting through until today. So could there be some potential for this particular stock? Now, Tesla, let me see what I was thinking here. On the target for Tesla, let me go to, what did I do on here? I had a target. I forgot to write down how I determined my target here. I had a target of 488. Now, 470 is where it was fairly recently, right? When it gapped up here and then it dropped, but that's not really that big of a move, right? Where it is right now up to 470, it might not really feel like it's worth the effort. And so we were looking at, let me just come back here on the 2-year chart. All right. So it's on the 2-year chart where we can see where the previous high was. So this was back in December of last year. Okay. So really we could see it on a 1-year chart. And so it looks like we've got a nice little run up there, about 488. Tesla is grinding her way, is moving pretty decent. It's having a decent enough breakout today. That we're going to use 488. We're going to drop off the 54 cents. We're going to put that as our target. Now, if you wanted to, you could also split it, for target 1 and target 2. On this one, there's not really a good secondary target. And so we're just going to use the 488 in this particular trade. Okay. Let's see. Channel height. Chris wants to know about maybe this cup. Maybe this is a cup and handle formation. Let's show you what Chris is talking about here. There's lots of times we can see different patterns on the stock chart. And I think this is what you're referring to here, Chris, is this idea that maybe we had a little, we're going to call it a cup. And then maybe right now it's maybe forming the handle. Sometimes the handle goes sideways here. Many times we'll see the handle be a little bit at an angle, like we might see on a flag pattern. Okay. And then what's our expectation? Well, our expectation really is that whatever the height of our cup is, that's our potential next target. Now, we're not going to use that as a future target, but you could if you wanted. If you're saying, I'm in this, I want to trade this for a little bit longer than just a 2 to 5 to 10 day trade. If you were saying, no, I want to hold on to it a little bit longer, then you could measure that. Maybe put that as a measuring stick that you're going to watch and see if Tesla maybe gets up to that level. Okay. Is it ever guaranteed when we see these patterns? Nah, of course not. It would be really nice if the market gave us some guarantees, but it just doesn't. But these price patterns can help us because they give us an idea where could a target be, where should we place a stop as well. Okay, so on here, let's go ahead and use my scratch pad. And so we're going to say 488 is going to be our target. What about our stop? Where would be a good place that you would feel comfortable putting in a stop here? And we're gonna come back here to say a 3 months so you can see this a little bit closer up. And on this, because that 5 or 452 area was resistance, it should act as new support. Okay, it's a guarantee, no, but technical principles would suggest that hopefully it'll act as support. Now, if we had a little bit more volume, we might be a little bit more convinced. We love to see stocks when they break out where they have extra volume, and you can see this little green line here is my average volume. So it's not even quite up to average volume. If we don't see extra volume, sometimes it might not hold. Okay, so whether it have excellent volume here or not, or extra volume, maybe I should say, we're going to calculate our stop in the same place. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this 458 or 452.84, and we're just going to go say 2% below that. Because if it goes 2% below it, then this thing is just not following through. It's really maybe a fake out instead of a real breakout. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's calculate that. And so let me bring this little calculator over. So that number is 452.84. I'm going to multiply it by 0.98 because that's the quickest way to get 2% below 100 is just multiply it by 98%. It's going to give us a value of 443.78. Okay. And so that is going to be our stop on this one. Now, let's talk a little bit about managing this. Let's suppose tomorrow the stock continues up. Great, we'll be happy campers. We'll watch that. We probably wouldn't imagine it getting all the way to our target in one day. It could take a little bit of time for it to get there. Hopefully not very long because it is a swing trade. But we might want to be really active with our stop loss. Now, you don't have to move and adjust it every day, but if you want to be active about maybe trying to lock in some gains, you get it to a point and you're like, oh yeah, I don't want to lose more than what I put into it because it's made a decent enough move. And so you're looking to maybe get out at a break-even point or something of that nature. What we could also use here is say it does have another decent day up, then what we might do is just go the low, go see what the low was tomorrow when it occurs, and then maybe move our stop loss up to be a little bit below it. Now, Tesla's an expensive stock, so we could go $1 or 50 cents or whatever you wanted to do. You get to decide how much wiggle room you want to give it. But for this very first stop area, we're just going to use the 433.78. All right. Let's do this. Go to the trade tab. And we're just going to do by custom with an OCL bracket. And we're just going to take the vanilla bracket, the target and the stop. So we are in this one. We're going to do 40 shares here. So let me, if I click on that, if it'll link them up. This guy up too. Okay, I didn't want to, whatever. All right, 40, 40, 40. Okay, so our target we're going to put here. We're going to put that at 448. If you wanted to use cents, you could, right? And then we'll put this stop at 443.78. But we're going to, with these swing trades, we're going to look at it every day. We're going to adjust our stop loss if we can. Make sure when you're adjusting stop losses that you don't move them down, because if you move them down, usually it's because of an emotional reason. It's not because you calculated something wrong. Now, if you calculated something wrong and you realize it and you want to fix it, obviously. But typically, we're not going to want to drop our stop losses, okay? We're like, oh, it might come down and hit it. I don't want it to hit it. No, it's like if it hits it, it hits us. It's not doing us any good. We decided that at a time when we weren't feeling emotional about whatever the move might have been, okay? So we're going to want to stick with this. So we're going to make these good till canceled. And I'm just going to unlock this, see where the price of the stock is now, because it's moved around a little bit. And I hate it when it changes our numbers. 443. So let's change this back to 78. 443.78. And I'm just going to take this down 7 cents. Okay, get it right back to where it was, 448. All right, let's send this on its way. We're going to put this again in our swing trade grouping so we can keep track of it. Did I do something wrong there? You told me you didn't think I'd wanted to do that. Let's see what did I not change this? We got filled at 448. Stop was supposed to be, let's see, maybe I did a typo here, because it looks like it filled us immediately and then it filled us on our target. Oh, that was supposed to be something else. I must have typed it in wrong in my notes. Well, let's go fix this thing. I think it's supposed to be 488. So if I go back on a 1-year chart, that's where our target was. It was supposed to be 488. Okay, so we've got to fix it. All right. Hate it when we do dumb stuff, but we're going to just go ahead and do that again. But we've kind of walked through it, so we're going to kind of just do the numbers pretty quick here. So we're going to go 40, link that up. This time our target's going to be the right number, 448. And then the stop is going to be 443. Get back in there, 443.78. Good till canceled. Good till canceled. And off we go. We're going to send it in. Appreciate you picking up on that. You were trying to save me some pain, but it didn't. All right, we'll see. We'll make sure it gets filled before the market closes here today. All right. I hope all of you become subscribers to our Trader Talks channel. When you do, it just makes it easier for you to find our content. And I'm just going to jump over here real quick. Well, I was going to try to jump over here real quick. And let's see. Let's come over here. And we're going to come over here to our Schwab Trader Talks group. Okay. And one thing with YouTube is really nice. You can create some playlists for whatever you're interested in, right? We've created some playlists for you, but this Trader Talks channel gets you to all of our content, which makes it really helpful. Being a subscriber helps you. So if you haven't done that yet, click on that blue YouTube looking button. It says subscribe on it and it'll subscribe you, but just do it once. If you do it a second time, it'll unsubscribe you. Okay, so just click on it once. And if your thing over here already says subscribe on it, you probably have, well, it's probably eligible to subscribe. Okay, but it tells you what's coming up next, which after this class we're going to be doing after the close. Kevin Horner is going to lead that discussion about, what are the tasks, what are some of the things that you might want to do once the market's closed, you're not actively trading, to prepare for the next day. Okay. And then we have a new thing here of some bite-sized content, which are basically short videos. They're 10 minutes or less on various topics. And the topics that I'm working on is giving you some tips in Thinkorswim how to do certain things. And then most recently, what I did was show you how to customize your position statement area with the kind of data that you might want to see. Okay, so do that. And of course, you can find us on our playlist here as well. All right. Let's see here. I want to take a break. I want to do some trade management here on some trades because I think that's really an important part of what we discuss. Okay, well, how do you manage these trades? What do we do? Well, one trade I want to take you to is that we did last week was W-Day Workday. And on here with Workday, just going to show you the chart. I had a weird thing happen in my paper money, which was that it kind of wiped out all of my trades, but it didn't wipe out the history of my trade. And when you go in and you reset your paper money, and I've done this many times, you go in, you reset it, and basically say, blow it all away, I want to start all over. Well, it gets you out of all the positions you're in at that moment, but it also wipes out the history. And so a weird thing happened where it wiped out my current trades, but left the history. Okay, which I'm going to leave it that way because seeing what some of the history is has been really helpful this week. Okay, so let's take a look at W-Day here on the chart, and let's maybe talk through it. When we got in last week, you can see I put a green oval. We were seeing the stock break above this diagonal resistance, and there was this nice little triangle pattern. And we use that triangle, the height of the triangle, to determine what a stop or a target could be. And we also used it for our stop. So we had our target clear up here at about in the neighborhood of 167. And it didn't do it. Okay, it just kind of fizzled, and is back down here. Now the stop that we put in place here was at, oh, I might not have written this one down. Let's just go see here. Our stop was supposed to be at 232.17. Okay, 232.17, which is in the neighborhood of about, pretty close to where my mouse is right now. 232.17 is pretty close. Well, the stock hasn't made it that low. The idea here was if it dips back down into the triangle, then we want to be out of the trade. Now, so far, it has not done what we expected it to do. And so there's a couple of approaches we could take with this. Approach number one is, and if you were using an option on this, this would be especially true. If it doesn't make half the move that you expected it to make in half the time, then you might want to close it out. If it's just kind of fizzling, dinking around, because time decay really hurts you on a long option, right? And so if it's just not doing much, sometimes a trader will consider getting out there. Now, it hasn't come as low as what our original stop loss is. However, because it's been kind of not acting like a breakout of a triangle should be acting, what you might want to do is to just increase your stop loss. So the stop loss, if we had not been wiped out of our trade, the stop loss we would have changed this to, we would have gone, see what today's low is? Today's low is 237.24. And so in our class, if our trade had still been on here, probably would have just gone like maybe about 20 cents lower than today's low. Because if it really dips down there, it's just not doing what we thought. We want to minimize our loss on it, get out of the trade. Okay. Next up, ADI. It too is a victim of this glitch. Actually, all the trades I had going in every single class did this. So quite a bit on the annoying side. This is ADI, Analog Devices. And again, a nice triangle. We had this nice high target up here at about 278 and change, okay, is how high the height of the pattern was. And we got in, it broke out here, and we went ahead and got in on the very next day. And then what did it do? Well, it dinked around as well. I don't think dink around is a real official trader term, okay, but it just is not moving the way we expected it to move. But our stop, I went ahead and wrote this one in, and it's at 234.55. That's where our original stop was. So again, if you're in an option trade, you might consider, if it hasn't gone half the distance and half the time, might want to consider getting out. Now, we actually did a call on this. All right, so on our let's go ADI. Yeah, we bought a December 19 240 call. And prior to looking at things before the class started, this one was down. We paid $18 for it, as we can see here. And we had our stop triggered to get out, but it just didn't reach down to that low level. But the price of the option before our class, and we can go look right now. Let's go 240 call in December. Open this up. 240 is about right here. It's down even lower than what I wrote down. Okay, it's down now. You know, maybe you get out between this price here, but the low there is 1270. So it's really starting to fill it. So we're going to go ahead and close it out. Okay, it's not doing what we expect. We don't want to take a big loss on it. We don't want to trade on hopium. It's like, it didn't follow through. We're just going to get out. Okay, so again, had we been in the trade, that's what we would do. We would just go ahead and get out. Now, we had the same thing hit us on CRM. These triangles were not very trustworthy triangles, were they? Just kind of depends. Again, we got on here, the breakout above this resistance level, and it also broke through this diagonal resistance level on the day that we got in, but the same thing, it's just not going anywhere. If it had been an option trade, might be at a point where we'd want to absolutely get out. When it's a stock trade, you don't have the time decay weighing on you, but we still have the same thing. We have 4 or 5 days in a row, it's not doing what we thought. So some traders might choose to exit the trade there, okay? And if it were sitting there, that's probably what we would do with it today. All right, any questions on that? Want to make sure I can track those. All right, I think we're good, but if you do have a question, go ahead, chat it in on. Both Rachel and I are keeping our eye on a chat. One last thing here. Here is a potential additional trade. We're not going to have time to do today, but it might be something worth consideration. That's Corning. They had their earnings announcement today. You can see it gapped down to here, and then it just has rallied all day. And really, say you didn't know earnings was really even there, you would look at this and go, oh, it just bounced off that 30-day moving average. It just bounced off that horizontal level of support. Okay. And so you could, it's really actually at an all-time high here on Corning. So what somebody might consider doing is maybe getting out at the high price here around 89.77 if you wanted to get like a small movement and then put a higher target up there. And I was experimenting with Fibonacci's that would have given us a higher potential exit on that. So I'll put that in. We don't have time for me to put it in our class here right now, but before the market closes, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put that in, and then I'll show you where that target is on Corning. I had it in the neighborhood of about 94-ish. Okay, 94. All right, you guys. Number one, if you'll fill that survey out for us, we always appreciate the time you take to fill out the surveys for us. So number one would be that. If you found this helpful today, go ahead and hit the like button on your way out. That lets other people know you found it useful and helpful, and that will allow them to find our content so much easier when we see those likes. Rachel and I would love a follow on X. And then, of course, we talked earlier about subscribing to our channel so that it makes it easy to find our content. All right. So Kevin Horner is going to be up right at the top of the hour. So go refresh your beverage, get a snack, and then we'll be back here in about 15 minutes. We'll follow up on these trades next week. See you later. Bye-bye.